Meanwhile, we'll have two more important matches happening this upcoming weekend to decide Copa America spots selections, with Canada facing off against Trinidad and Tobago and Honduras facing off against Costa Rica. These four teams vying for a Copa America spot. It's actually pretty crazy what's on the line here, man. One of the biggest tournaments that the USA has seen. CONCACAF being a part of this beautiful Copa America tournament. Who wants to get in, man?
Yeah, for real, bro. And there's some weak teams here. And honestly, Canada included, bro. Honestly, I think they're going to have a tough task against Trinidad. If Trinidad play the way that they played against the USA in November, I could see this. I'm not going to say 50-50, but I could see it being very tight for a very long time. Canada are unrecognizable. I don't know who this team is anymore. Herdman has left the project, which really surprised me when that happened last year. I still think there's a million questions that Canada have left to be answered. And I have them beating Trinidad solely because of the individual talent that they have. I mean, Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, Kyle Larin to a certain extent, but then also you have players like Stefano Stacchio as well who can operate in the midfield. My biggest question for Canada is, how do they set up now? Like, what does this new coach think? How does he inspire this team to play? Because it's going to be completely different, I think, than Herdman's tactics. Because Herdman was unapologetic offense, and if they were open at the back, he said, fuck it, we're going to be open at the back. I think this new coach, from what I've seen, he's trying to play a lot more balanced style of play, which sure, I mean, because Herdman's tactics ultimately did not work. Like, they actually failed pretty miserably at the World Cup. I'm fine with that. I'm just curious to see how the players are going to take it. How does this Canadian team find themselves, refine themselves? There's so much left to be answered for Canada. Trinidad will just be a tricky test because they're going to go all defense. And it can work to a certain extent. I have Canada winning, though.
Trinidad's offense is what gets me, man. There's not much there. The defense is actually really good. I remember when we saw them here at the Q2 Stadium against the USA, kept it 0-0 for 80 minutes, man. And it was by good defensive actions. So that I'm not worried about. But offensively, there's nothing up top, man. It is dead. And so I do see Canada going through. If Canada isn't to go through, though, then that would solidify to me the complete downfall of this Canadian era that we've seen. And if anything, it would piss me off. This one would piss me off a little bit because of all the hope I invested into this Canadian side. To see it fall the way it has and to not even qualify for the Copa America, given that they're already qualified for the FIFA World Cup, it would piss me off that they'd be taking up a slot for a much more deserving team at the goddamn World Cup, man, if this is how they play, if they lose.
It's just one game for Trinidad. It's just 90 minutes. Not two legs, neutral ground. There's no way Canadians or Trinidadians will probably show up at the Toyota Stadium. It's just going to be a training match. Yeah. And at that point, honestly, my favorite Trinidad in a weird way. Canada will go through, but yeah, if they don't, then I'll join you on that diatribe that we'll have to put out on the internet, bro. Man,
I think so because there's a lot of teams out there with more life to them, and I think that exists in the Costa Rica Honduras matchup, where you have an Honduras team that lost out to Mexico in what we've already mentioned as a controversial result, but regardless, showed a lot of potential, a lot of feistiness, especially in those wings, man. Their wingers, I thought, were really impressive. And Costa Rica, a team that has been on the downturn from their incredible golden generation from 2014, finding a way to qualify to 2018, and then even finding a way to qualify for the 2022 World Cup. I do think what we're seeing now is a shift in terms of generations, a new crop of faces coming into this Costa Rican side, still trying to deliver some results as they're here with a matchup, with an opportunity to see themselves in the Copa America. All I'm going to say is that this Costa Rica team, this country, is known for qualifying themselves into tournaments despite maybe not having the best teams, versus Honduras, who's known for the opposite, who has had some really good teams, has found ways to not qualify into important tournaments. And despite the trajectory that they're on, I do think this is going to be a very close matchup, and Honduras and Costa Rica fans are going to be on the edge throughout this full 90 minutes because either one could take it, man. Either one could take it. And it's going to be heartbreak for the other team who misses out on the Copa America.
Yeah, that is true. This game is so much more even on paper than the Canada-Trinidad match. 100%. Costa Rica will always be in my heart, but give me Honduras here. Give me Honduras just because if they can emulate the way that they played against Mexico, then I would rather see that risky offensive style of football than Costa Rica's lifeless defense first, zero offense style of football, man. Like the way Honduras played against Mexico was low-key inspiring. I was like, damn, okay, like they have some good players. Luis Palma, El Choco Lozano, Acosta in the midfield. There's some talent here. The goalkeeper, I forget his name, but he was actually pretty good against Mexico in those two matches. I think there's just a little bit more excitement when it comes to the talent that Honduras have right now. I hope they can utilize it. I really do. But you're right, man. I mean, Costa Rica they find a way to figure it out. I won't be surprised if they go through. I think it's going to be very even. Because if there's one thing that is true, Honduras are so inconsistent, man. And they'll play one very good game, and the next game they'll lose 4-0 against anybody. It's what has plagued Honduras for the last 10 years, essentially. You said it already. They find ways to not qualify for tournaments, even if they have really brilliant moments on the road to a tournament. And so if the highlight is that Mexico game, then that sucks for Honduras. That would suck because they played so well. Qualify yourself for a Copa America. Do it. It would be so big for you, considering that the World Cup qualifying for you is more open now because the USA, Canada, and Mexico is not a part of it.
Yep.
It opens it up. It would be perfect if Honduras can qualify for the Copa America because ultimately I think they have a better chance to have a successful World Cup than Costa Rica. And the thing is, I'm going Honduras also because Costa Rica got murdered against Panama. Murdered. Whereas Honduras just got a little unlucky against Mexico. I think that difference, I need to see Honduras go through.
I just can't believe I'm putting my trust in Honduras, man. Like,
that's what sucks.
No disrespect. No disrespect to my Hondurans out there, man. A beautiful country and everything. But in the footballing world, to put your trust in Honduras is to put your trust on a blind man. Like, it's tough, man. Like, it really is tough. Especially against a country that would consider having a lot of experience in these type of pressure situations, especially in CONCACAF and Costa Rica. But when I truly look at this Honduras team, I just think about that Mexico game. Bro, if they just finish one of those opportunities, that matchup's done.
It's done.
It's done. And I think that they will almost regress to a mean in this Costa Rica matchup. We needed that luck as a Mexican. We needed them to fail those opportunities that they had. And by the grace of God, they did. Yeah. But I don't think that same thing's going to happen this time around against Costa Rica. A much weaker team defensively for sure than Mexico too. Honduras will break them down. They'll get their goals. They'll celebrate and they'll go through. And I'll be happy because that's what they deserve. And they'll be breaking the mold, the tradition of what has been a disappointing run for Honduras in recent years. Hopefully this will signal the start of a new era heading into the 2026 FIFA World Cup. It's something very beautiful that I'm hoping for, but at the very same time, Costa Rica could take that away from me.
Yeah.
They could take it away and they could continue their trajectory of just getting results because they're Costa Rica and they're one of the best Central American countries to exist.